I'm sorry, our vision, sorry.
Mission.
Or the mission statement,
Yes,
sorry.
mission.
The mission of the Department and Ministry of Education is to provide all persons in the Bahamas an opportunity to receive a quality education that will equip them with the necessary beliefs, knowledge, attitudes, and skills required for life, both in a democratic society guided by Christian values and in an interdependent, changing world.
People, that's why we are here. The ministry employ us to help fulfill that mission statement. And that's not a new one. That's been there for quite a while. But every now and then we need to pull it out and look at it and to remind ourselves why we are here. Why we try to do the job that we are doing. And so it's no accident when we talk about all students being able to learn, because they can. We want to get even the most mentally challenged students, because we have with schools, we have for the mentally challenged. Exactly. And now, more than ever, there's other special schools popping up. Is there a need for those special schools in our society? Definitely. Because as far as it is possible, we also want to give those persons an opportunity to be functional in society. And that's our aim. So we should never, ever, ever forget that. So every now and then, pull it out. That governs what we do here. So not just the high flyers, not just the middle students or the average students. So when you get a bottom class, don't look at it, oh my God. Look at that as an opportunity to move those students so they can become functional in our society. Because like Ms. Lynn said, some of our students blossom later. They do. And some of them become quite successful. Sometimes when you walk down the road, it's like, wow, how did he become? I remember at UB, the lab technician, he said there was the student who was always failing chemistry. And he happened to go to the hospital one day. And here she comes to give him money. He was like, no, you're not going to give me any. So what am I saying? Yes. Right. So persons have the opportunity. Yes. So persons have the opportunity to become better. And you heard Dr. Higgs on Monday. You heard what she said on Monday when she was in the primary school. Okay, so we want to keep that in mind. So let's look at the ministry mission statement. Ms. Lynch, can you read that aloud for me, please? Sorry, the vision statement. I'm sorry.
Our vision is for a Bahamian education system that will foster academic excellence and equip students with multiple literacies that will enable them to make meaningful contributions as nation builders who are globally competitive.
Thank you. How else could the ministry do it? Who do they need? Teachers. We are so important in the whole scheme of things. I'm going to show you a video a little later on and to see what people think about you. And I want you to think about what it is that you do. You are valuable. See yourself as valuable. Because somebody said, teachers teach everybody else. Everybody else, every other profession. Okay, Mr. Dawkins, next slide, please. Okay, so to start us off, to get into the gist of things, I have a little activity for you. But before we do the activity, I have here our specific objective. But before we go into actually objective, can anybody tell me why you think I went about highlighting that objective in 3 parts?
That's what you're not.
That's what you're on.
What does those 3 parts represent? What it is that we look for in our objective?
Condition.
The condition, what else?
Criteria.
The criteria, what else?
Measurable.
Well, of course it has to be measurable, but it has to be, what do we want? That degree of what? Accuracy. Right, we want that degree of accuracy. So just for the next 5 minutes, you're going to be my students. Okay? I gave you 2 pieces of paper. We're going to function with the yellow. We're going to use the yellow paper, but I don't want to do anything until I tell you to do so. So we're going to start this class. So what I would like for you to do, class, I would like you to read the objective. Let's read that objective, because you don't have to write it, but you know, you write in your book, but you don't have to do that. So class, we're going to read this objective. What does it say? Okay, so let's get this clear. What is it that the teacher is going to do? Demonstration. She's going to carry on a demonstration. What is it that the student is going to do? Right, they're going to make a model. And how long do you have that model? To make that model? Right, and that's your degree of accuracy. Okay, so I don't want you talking, I just want you looking at me. Miss Johnny, can you come up for a second for me, please? So I want you to just listen. I'm going to give you 5 steps. And after I finish with this 5 step, I'm going to ask you to do it, okay? I have this sheet of paper. I'm going to fold it. And so when I fold it, it should look like that. Open it up again. And then I'm going to fold it this way. Okay? So when you open your paper, you should have something looking like that. Okay? So the next step, you need to hold your paper in the middle like that. And so these 2 sides and can go in. Okay? It goes in. And then, it don't have to be perfect, it's not perfect. You can fold this side in here. And fold this next side in here. You have a pen. This is your window. Doors in your door. That's your door. Okay? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes now to complete that.
I lost the second step. Oh, yeah.
Started before time.
It's 5 minutes.
Tell your girl I'm happy she passed the bio. I was looking for a better grade though.
Okay.
Somebody here look like they got it. Okay, Cassie. You can stay in that for the hurricane. Hey, I like when you're with your wife and you see me, you don't see me, but that's alright.
What is that, man?
Immigration yesterday.
Okay, stop. Wherever you are, I need you to stop. Wherever you are, I need you to stop. Thanks. That was reaction. Okay, so Miss Jolly. Miss Jolly. Mr. Dawkins next. No, hold on a second. Okay, Miss Jolly. Can I have your attention, please? Now I asked Miss Jolly to make some observations. And so Miss Jolly now is going to tell you some of those observations that she made.
Okay, morning colleagues. From observation what I noticed, about first when she gave the instructions, some persons went right away and jumped in, and other persons, they were like, what? Repeat again, they was confused. But after one or two persons started to get the hang of it, they other persons get to speed up and start to do the activity. Right? And then other persons who got to share their knowledge and help other persons in the class. Then there was other persons who did not attempt. They got checked out.
This one did something else.
Also, one of the things that I noticed most importantly, that persons that have, based on the activity that she was doing, persons who have creativity and have a technical background were the persons who actually finish first.
Okay, thanks. Next slide, Mr. Dawkins. Okay. Okay, now we're going to have a little discussion here for 2 minutes. I'm the teacher. I want you to tell me the first, well, Ms. Jolly did the observation. We're going to look at that second question, suggestion for more effective student accomplishment and involvement. You tell me what Ms. Thompson could have done so that most or almost 100% of her students was involved and was attentive. Smith. Step by step.
Control the paper the first way and allow everybody to do that. And then do the next step, allow everybody to do it, and then move on like that.
Okay, any other suggestions?
Demo it more than once.
Okay, good. Anything else?
Write the instructions down.
Hold on a second, I come back to you. Okay, could have given individual attention.
You could have done it first. Have a student come up who think they could have got it right. Have them do it after, and then that could have been the second demonstration, and then the others do it.
Good.
And for those who couldn't follow you effectively, then you should have wrote down the instructions so they can read it step by step.
Good, good.
Yeah, I was going to say that because you have different learners in a class, you realize that everyone can't be bodily kinesthetic or technical to actually do the paper. So what you should have done was in groups, allow one person who saw you to write the instruction, and then you have the next one who's actually a leader who can demonstrate what was going on. You have another one who watches to make sure that everyone is on time on task for the 2 minutes, and then you would have it done.
Excellent.
I think we could have turned for this end of the room. We felt and we felt like the bad kids in the corner.
Excellent, right. Excellent. Any other comment?
Okay, what could have been different was a model actually made before so they know what the finished product was, or start with them not knowing it, but as they do the instructions, say now, do you think you know what we're going to be making now? So it's, so you can draw it out of them.
Okay, good, excellent. Now, you gave me a lot of suggestions, a lot of those things I thought about, and I was hoping that you would come up with those. So you come up with more than I came up with. Another one I came up with was that I could have put them in groups and actually draw a diagram and let them do it. Which set of students you think would be successful with that? The kinesthetic learners. The student where I just wrote the instruction without any diagram, without anything. What type of student you think would benefit from that?
Yeah, the high flyers.
The high flyers, like those persons who can think on their feet, those persons who can think a little bit more than the low ability students. So what am I saying to you? What am I trying to bring out here? Right. And why do you want to vary activities? To accommodate each child. So what are you trying to accommodate about the child?
Learning
The different types of learning styles. Even though a student or students may have a major learning style, there are other learning styles that we're trying to get them into. Like we said all along, a lot of students blossom a little later. Because some people who think that they're visual learners actually find out a little later that there's something else. And so you actually make sure you have all of these strategies within your lesson. And do you think it should be just, okay, what I'm gonna do today, just throw something together, or it should be what? If we're gonna get some results from the ministry's mission in our students, whatever we do in the classroom has to be what? Word beginning with D. Sometimes people say, give the word beginning with D. It has to be deliberate. It has to, sorry. That's okay if you didn't get it because there are many D terms out there. It has to be deliberate. And a lot of time we think that a lot of work goes into it, but if you have your grade 11 and 12, the grade 10 may be a little challenge, but your grade 10 and 11, you've had both of them for 2 years. So you basically, and your grade 11 going to third year, you basically have an idea where your students are, where they function, where they fall. And you have basically an idea how you can move them, because you've had them almost for 2 years. Oh, next slide, please, Mr. Dawkins. Okay, now, a lot of times we talk about, I said earlier to you that teachers are valuable. Oh my goodness. You have no idea. I don't know, sometimes you walk out and you can look at a person and almost see that they're a teacher. Some of them. Yeah, it just grows on you. But teachers are nation builders. Now, most of the students in this class, in this little video, they're like primary, some of them a little older, but listen to see what they have to say about teachers, Mr. Dawkins. Good, bad, positive.
Oh, yeah.
You think about it, it just comes to your mind, eh? Yeah. Isn't that something? I'm going to ask one or two persons to share. Share with us. A teacher that has an impact on you, good or bad.
A teacher that had impact on me would have to be Miss Sadly. When I went here, he's like that teacher. He helped us to do really well on the GCSE, for us to do it in grade 11. And for everybody that did do it, they passed with a C or better. And then we just did it again in grade 12. Like he had morning classes for us when he didn't have to. So that really helped us a lot.
And he will always be in the back of your mind. Johnson?
I had a fantastic teacher in grade 8. Her name was Etta Malcolm, and she's the reason why I wanted to become an English teacher. And to this day, at odd times, I call it, she would send me books. This is like almost 20-something, 30-something years later, that she thinks that I need, and it would be the perfect thing. So she's been a teacher, mentor, everything throughout my entire life.
Okay.
I had a teacher, Mr. Norris Pendo. He was an accounts teacher in our just 4 grades, grades 10 to 12. He's now a principal at Norris High School. And I remember vividly him telling me that I would never amount to anything. I actually wanted to do my accounts for GCSE after taking it twice. And now I am an accounts teacher who's getting A's, doing great things. And now he's now a principal now. Now he has the account teacher at his school calling me for mentorship. Wow.
my teacher, I was an English teacher, she was very good. I mean, she was just very enthusiastic about English. And when I was in grade 8, I thought I wanted to be a writer, and she pushed us so hard that, I got first place in English in grade 8. And that's like almost a bigger school like this, 1,005 kids. So, like 4, 6, 7, 8, grade 8. So that was a real achievement for me. And then by the time I hit grade 11, I had another math teacher. She was just so enthusiastic. She called me her little bird. So I guess based on, I had those good English and math teachers, probably why sometimes I'm like, do I love math more? That sort of thing. So I was glad for those teachers. So basically, I think that's why, I did so well in the CXC. So I can attribute that to both my core subject like that.
Thanks. Can I have one more person to share?
I remember, I won't call the teacher's name. I remember this teacher, I loved English. And what happened during the time everyone knows I'm from Cricket Island, so what happened during that time, she had to leave. And no one wants to get sent to the island, so within that year, we had about 3 different English teachers. And for lit during that time, I know we loved Women Take Two, so every time the teacher came, we always told the teacher we never read the book. And we read the book so many times during that time. But this teacher, before she left, she told us, well, I'm leaving and I'm going to Nassau. And when y'all graduate, if y'all see me on the street, pretend as if y'all didn't see me. And whatever. And I was so hurt by it, and all of us, well, the rest of them, especially the boys, they were like, what wants to heal you anyway? But going to COB, what ended up happening was I was across the street, and she was on the next side of the street. And the only thing that kept on replaying in my head was, don't hail. And it hurt me even at the college level, and I did not hail. After I actually graduated, English teacher and whatever else, come to find out now, even seeing her, I don't even think she remembers telling us that. And so seeing her, and sometimes she would even tell people, like when we're in the same room together, she's an English teacher because of me, and whatever else. But it was just, sometimes it made me realize that sometimes you have to be very careful what you say to students, because you might not remember, but they do, and you're moving on and so proud of, oh, well, they did something totally different. But now, for me, I still remember that.
Good, thanks. Okay, sorry.
Sitting here, I have to say, in my 20 plus years of teaching, I have never been more impressed with another music teacher such as Mr. Giovanni Clark. That's it.
So did we learn anything from those experiences? Yes, we know what not to do as teachers, right? We will always try to be what towards our students. We will always try to be what? Positive. We will always want to be on this side. Do what is good and positive towards our students. Because we don't know what's going to happen. People change over time. Mr. Dawkins, next slide, please. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at from the video. This is we discussed just now from the video what would possibly be, or what could possibly be some of the strategies you think those teachers that may have employed, because there was good things said about teachers. So what do you think some of the strategies those teachers may have used based on some of the comments that was made? What do you think, strategies or teaching methods? Mrs. Nordich?
Actually had connections with kids, had a relationship with kids.
Right, had a relationship, yes, right. In fact, there's a lady who said without any relationship, students don't know. Her words was that students do not learn from people they do not like. So you have to try to establish a relationship with your students, even if it's a working relationship. And of course, you do have we are humans and you do have affinity for some students over others. But being the professional, what would you not allow yourself to do? Show what?
Ms. Thompson, I was drawn to that. The guy was autistic, that little one there.
Right.
You know, he struggled to say it, but students like those, sometimes we overlook them because of their challenges.
Right.
But the fact that he was able to say that, this teacher means so much. And I just say that we have to be careful. But sometimes these people just, what is he doing here anyhow?
Yeah.
You tend to pass them by.
Right.
But they need love like anybody else too.
Because they are members of society, eh? And to go on with the days where you just keep them home and lock them away so nobody can see them. They also are part of our society, and they are entitled to all the rights that we have. Am I right? Yes. So, and do we have any control over mental issues in our family? No. We don't have any control over that, and so it can happen to any one of us in here. So we always want to show that human element, and of course, as teacher, we always want to be a teacher. We don't ever want to take off that persona. We want to always bear that on us. Next slide, please. Okay, so today we will be taking a closer look at differentiated instruction and how it can be used to improve students' outcome. And that is what we want. We want to focus on the outcome and how we're going to see that, a transformation in our classroom. Next slide, please. Okay, is there any way you can
Okay,
adjust it?
let's see.
Okay, time.
Right there?
Okay, time. Okay. Right. Okay, time. So we've been hearing a lot about differentiated instruction, and guess what? Yesterday and the day before, I make it my business to speak with some people, and I asked them, what do you do in your classroom? Do you use this method of teaching? And they said, not really. But when I start to ask them questions, do you do this? And do you do that? I said, yes. You use this method quite frequently in your classroom. A lot of time you're not paying attention to it. But after the day, we're going to be sharpening ourselves a little bit more and really doing things a little bit more deliberate. Ms. Roma, can you read that definition for me, please? Oh, sorry. Okay.
Differentiation means tailoring instructions to meet individual needs. Whether teachers differentiate content, process, products, or the learning environment, the use of ongoing assessment and flexible grouping makes this a successful approach to
Thank you.
instruction.
Okay. Now, I'm not saying to you throw away whole class instruction. I'm not saying that, because there is a need for whole class instruction. But what I am saying to you, I'm saying try to make a little bit more effort to pay attention to differentiated instruction, because like you said, we do have these students in our class, and all do not learn at the same rate. And they all do not learn on the same day. And they all do not learn in the same year. Okay? Mr. Dawkins? Okay, so when we talk about that method, these are the things that you want to pay attention to. You want to pay attention to your content. A lot of times, and in most cases, we really do not have any control over our content, because it is guided by what? What is our content guided by? The Ministry of Education. What do they give to us? The curriculum, right? Even though there's a hidden curriculum somewhere in there that's never seen, but we have very little control over our content. And then we want to pay attention to the process. Our process is going to be important. And Ms. Ferguson, can you read what the process says there?
How teachers sequence the learning and the ways in which students learn.
Right. So you need to pay attention to how your students learn. You know those slow learners that need extra attention, or I'm going to show you a video that gives you some suggestions on what you can do to help those slower students. And then we have the product. The product, Ms. Pender, can you see that?
Yes, ma'am. How students demonstrate what they have learned.
Right. How do students demonstrate what they learn? What do we use? What do we use to
Quiz.
test? Right, it can be a test. It don't
Assessment.
necessarily have to be a test. Right. Any activity that demonstrates that learning has taken place, eh? And it doesn't necessarily, sometimes we get kind of tied down with tests, but it doesn't necessarily. And when I was in the classroom, I always try to give an activity, and I usually call it individual activity at the end of the lesson. And the reason for that, because I want to take some of the stigma away from the test. Because sometimes when you say test, the students automatically close down. You know, so you want to be a little bit more positive about it. And another thing that I did, I've been doing this for years before I came into administration. I had stopped marking with red ink long time. I marked with green ink, I marked with black ink. Black ink was my favorite. And I never, for years and years and years, I never gave access. And I told my students, whenever you see something is not marked, it means that it's incorrect. And so you find methods to try to encourage them and try to boost them and motivate them to learn and to perform in your class. And the last one, the environment. What counts for the environment in our whole teaching activity? What accounts for that? What is the environment? What would be the environment?
Where you teach.
Yeah, where you teach the classroom. And the classroom is your turf. Who says that you have to have your desk, the traditional one behind? You don't have to do that. Who said that? If you walk into the classroom and you meet your desk traditionally placed, do you have to use them in that manner? No. I remember the student came to me when I was at GHS. She said, Ms. Thompson, you have an A personality, eh? Because every time I come in here, your desk is rearranged differently. So you do not have to maintain the status quo in terms of keeping your desk in that row by row. You can put them over in a little group setting depending on what it is you're teaching and what it is that you want to accomplish. So we're going to see a little bit more about those three items. Now, as we go on, the environment can be embedded in those three, and we're going to see how that plays out. Mr. Dawkins? Thanks. So these are the 4 elements. Ms. Meadows, can you read for me, please? The 4 elements.
Okay, 4 elements to differentiate. Content, what the student needs to learn or how the student will get access to the information. Process, activities in which the student engages in order to make sense of or master the content. Product, culminating projects that ask the student to rehearse, apply, and extend what he or she has learned in the unit. And learning environment, the way the classroom works and feels.
Thank you very much. Now that culminating activity, you be students, use it. But for some reason, when we get into the the regular classroom setting, we just, okay, you did it, you write some notes or there was a discussion and the students just go. You don't check sometimes. Some teachers, sometimes, because some people check to make sure, did you understand this concept? Do I need to reteach this concept? So you need to check to see if you need to reteach the concept before you move on to another unit or to another concept. You need to check students' understanding. I know Ms. Jolly used the exit ticket sometime in our class, and that's a beautiful one to use. You could probably talk to her about it. And I'm sure she had great success, right, Ms. Jolly? Yes. So that's a way that you can check if there's something that they don't understand. And I must stick a pin here and say, don't give students busy work. I mean, sometimes I know you just finish that worksheet. Maybe once or twice out the term. Only do it once or twice on the term if you must. Don't give them busy work. Another thing I need to say, I would like to say right here, whenever you give an assignment, if you cannot get that back to the student, the class after, the second class, or when they come back to you, please ensure that that assignment is marked and given back to them, because a lot of times students do not know how they are progressing. And when students do not know how they are progressing, they lose interest. You lose them.
I have a question. I'm sorry. What do you meant by busy work?
Just something to keep them busy.
Because, I mean, in my opinion, if you're reinforcing an idea, if you want to give them more of it, would you consider that busy?
No, if you're constantly testing your objective, no, that's not what I'm talking about. No, that's not what I'm talking about. So whenever you give an assignment, please endeavor to get that back to the student as soon as possible. And whenever you give an assignment to the student, please let the student know that you didn't score. Classroom, because I was in science, and there are tons, and even for other subject areas, there are tons of worksheets, and I always got my worksheet from online, and whenever I got a worksheet, I always look for the answer key, because when you find your answer key, then that's extra work. You don't have to sit down there and make up. Sometimes you have to check the answer key. Sometimes the answer key off. Sometimes. So whenever you do an assignment, make your answer key right there. And sometimes this is what teachers sometimes do. They mark without an answer key. What is the danger of that? Yeah, no consistency. For those of you involved in national exam, when you write a question, you need to write your answer key. When you make up your end of term exam, you should not make up your end of term exam, 1, without a specification grid, 2, without an answer key. Sometimes the students done write the exam and the answer key hasn't been made up. And then you look, this is the right answer to this question, this question is worded incorrectly. And so, let's try to see if we can kind of polish those little weaknesses that needs to be. Okay, fine. So those are the comes under the product and our learning environment. We talked about Mr. Dawkins. Okay, so these are some of the things that we want to keep in mind. Readiness. Now, I know the students who come out of UB, on their lesson plan, it's always something called previous knowledge. And I was looking in the ministry Bible there, and I'm sure Ms. Fox is going to be talking about this. So she's in the ministry Bible, the lesson plan that the ministry has in there has previous knowledge. Why do you think that is just thrown in there to give you extra work? Previous knowledge. I mean, what is that? Why is that there? Yeah, and you need to know where they are. You need to know where they are. Exactly. You need to know where they are, right? What is happening in our countries now? You see all the preschoolers are going, the minister is trying to get more preschoolers in, because what did he find out? What's the reason for that? What did he find out? They weren't ready for grade 1. So we want to find out if our student is ready to move on to the next unit, ready to move on to the next concept. So interest, we need to pay attention to our student. You know you have a low ability student as far as reading. The student is reading at a grade 4 level, a grade 3 level, and you're giving him a textbook at a grade 10 level. And you sit there, you didn't do this assignment, I gave you this assignment, what do you think? What can happen, what can possibly happen to that student? The student can become what? Frustrated, very much frustrated. And so when you talk about he's not completing his assignment, sometimes you need to ask why the student isn't completing their assignment. maybe the assignment is above the student's level. And so that means that we're gonna have to pay a little bit more attention to our students and their ability. Can you move on for me, please? Okay, so this is a little bit more detail, what we've been talking about. Over here, the learning environment, our room arrangement. And in fact, you see here, they're mentioned here, the affective needs. What is that? In college, when we did our education courses, we came across the affective domain. What is that?
Attitude.
Had to do feelings and attitude. And so a lot of times, you know, we don't think about that as teachers, that our students, they come to us. At the conclave, there was a statistic given, and it was really mind-boggling. And it had to do with students under 14. How many of them come from impoverished background, impoverished household, do not have lunch? Perhaps Ms. Meadows could tell you some horror stories about our students. Don't have lunch money, sleeping in cars, electricity off, and when we come here and we talk about, did you do the homework? I didn't have breakfast, Mom. So homework, I sleep out in the car, so homework is going to be the last thing on my arm. So get to know you, what am I saying? Get to know your students, and so we can know, once we know, I'm not telling you to go and get into their business. But what I am saying to be a little bit more observant, because if you are a little bit more observant, you are in a position to help them a little bit better. Because remember, go back to our mission statement, we're here to build a country. Thanks, Ms. Dawkins. Can you move on to the next slide for me, please? So in summary, this is what has happened. That is what we just talked about. Okay? Move on, Mrs. Dawkins. Thanks. Okay, so I'm going to show you this video. Most of what I have said is going to be brought out in the video. And so, Mr. Dawkins, I think it's about 8 minutes long. But it's the person who's the narrator, she's quite, yeah.
Welcome to Smart at Math. This channel is devoted to supporting teachers to improve instruction for all students. This video will talk about differentiation. Teachers are told all the time to differentiate, but we all know there's a lot of challenges to differentiation. So this video will help you with those challenges. How do we differentiate? Let's call it the 3 Ps. There's 3 ways we can differentiate. The presentation, how it is taught. The process, how it is done by the students. And the product, how do they demonstrate their knowledge? Presentation, how is it taught? Is it going to be more teacher or student-centered? You can have whole class instruction, which is usually more teacher-centered. It can be kind of a lecture or demonstration. Small group instruction could have a teacher group and then other student groups doing either independent work and or problem-solving cooperative group work. Stations is more student-centered, where they're doing some kind of discovery activity. They may even have choice activities when they go from station to station. And cooperative groups where they could have some problem-based learning or even traditional book learning, but they're helping each other. Let's talk about direct instruction. It's traditionally kind of a lecture or demo with the teacher in front of the room, whole class instruction. But even within that model, we can differentiate to meet the needs of our students, either ability or learning styles. Remember, some students are visual, some are auditory learners, some are hands-on. So even though we have a traditional whole class instruction, we can teach the students alternative note-taking, such as Cordell notes or scientific notebook. We can even print out the notes for those students that are a little too slow, that can't write them out as quickly as we're talking. Manipulatives, even though it's a whole group instruction, we could have the students using manipulatives at their seats, so they're using some hands-on to meet their different learning styles. We could also have small group instruction, where the teacher-led group is direct instruction, maybe for some remediation, and the other groups may be independent study, choice activities, or cooperative learning. Process, how is it done? You can have traditional paper and pencil activities, either worksheets, book work, and here you can even differentiate where some students are required to do different amounts. cooperative groups where you have different ability levels and they kind of help each other and learn from each other's learning styles. Stations where the students move from station to station and do some kind of discovery, student-centered activities, either as individuals or little groups. Compacting, when you do your pre-assessment, if some students already understand and know the content, there's no reason for them to do that lesson again. So you have them move on to a different standard, a different activity. Independent contracts, this can be for English language learners, for special ed students that have their own IEP, or for GATE students that have to have some kind of enrichment activity. Choice opportunities, this is a great way for students to choose different ways for them to get the content. They may want to go to a listening center, work with a partner, or read silently. Product, how do they demonstrate their knowledge of the standards? You can have traditional assessments, and even within traditional assessments you can differentiate. Some students can be responsible for 5 problems, some can be responsible for 10 problems. Written reports and papers, and herein you can differentiate once again. Art and video projects for students that are more artistic. Oral reports for students that are good talkers. They can stand up in front of the room and do a great presentation. PowerPoint presentations, any kind of computer work. Sometimes that frees the students up to be a little more creative because they don't have to worry. They got the spell check and they don't have to worry about writing. Maybe they struggle with handwriting. Skits, songs, dances. This is a great opportunity for maybe a social studies lesson. They can do a skit that lets you know they understand all the history, but it's a different way to present it. Managing differentiation, the nuts and bolts. Yes, those are all great ideas, but how do you do it? So let's talk about nuts and bolts. Decide what you want to teach using your core content, your standards. Decide on what I call the outcomes. What do you want the students to be able to do at the end of your lesson? Pre-assess to determine your existing knowledge. You don't know what to teach if you don't know what the students already know. So you must pre-assess. Then after you've done your assessment, create groupings, and it depends on what you want to do. If you're going to do some remediation or enrichment, you're going to put them in ability groups. If you're going to do some project-based learning or some problem solving, you're going to put them in cooperative groups where they get the benefit of different learning styles and different ability levels. Preparation and organization. You must be well prepared and well organized in order for this to be a success. If you don't take the time to prepare, you're going to set the students and yourself up for failure. Think about your materials. How will you distribute these materials? How will the students get it? Will they be in baggies? Will they be in bins at the tables? Will they come up a little at a time to collect their materials? Directions. How will you give them the directions? If you're going to say it in front of the classroom, make sure that you don't do more than 3 steps at a time. And maybe write the instructions on the whiteboard or put placards at the stations if you're going to do stations. You can print out the directions on a ditto and give each student their own copy of the directions. Noise levels. What is acceptable? What kind of noise is acceptable? Student movement. You need to think this out ahead of time so they're not crashing into each other, because you don't want to create opportunities for conflict because kids are bumping into each other. Plus, it's a waste of time if it's not done well. Room arrangement. You want the room arrangement to facilitate whatever you're doing. Group work, student movement, etc. Teacher assistance. How will they get your assistance? You need to teach them of the proper way to get your assistance, and when will you provide it, and how will you provide it, and the monitoring of students. How will you hold them accountable? How will you make sure that everything's going the way you want it to go? Expectations. You need to be very clear about your expectations to the students. You need to communicate those expectations. You're going to establish behavior norms. You want to train the students so that they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. You have to build in accountability for both groups if you're doing groups, so some kind of group accountability, and individual student accountability if you're doing independent work, or even independent students within groups. And you want to make sure you always assess and reflect what you're doing. The best advice I can give you is to start small. Start small and do it really well. Maybe if you're going to do small group instruction, the first couple of times you're just going to do half and half, then maybe 3 groups and then 4 groups. Remember, the logistics is something that you have to learn and perfect. Also, by starting small, I also mean for you not to try to do everything every day. You will burn yourself out. In order to do this well, you must be very well prepared and organized, and you can't do a whole bunch of things every single day because you won't do it well, and you'll burn yourself out, and that won't be good for the students or you. let's recap. How to differentiate. Presentation, how you teach it. Process, how the students do it. And product, how the students demonstrate their knowledge. You need to assess the students. How do you teach them if you don't know what they already know? And you're going to group them based on the assessment and your goals. Prepare and organize. You want the students to be very successful, so you want to be very well prepared and very well organized to build in success for you and the students. Train the students. Don't jump right into the curriculum. Take the time to train the students so they understand what the expectations are when they're doing all the different alternative instructional strategies that you are putting forth. And start small and do it well. Be successful by just doing a little at a time to hit your ceilings. Here are some suggested resources. Here are some good books on differentiation. Thank you for visiting our channel, Smart and Math. We would love for you to subscribe. And if you want copies of this presentation and other teacher resources, visit our website, www.mastermiddleschoolmath.com. Remember, the teaching profession makes every other profession possible. Welcome.
Okay, so let's get some feedback. That's like a summary of what she said. Let's get some feedback from that. Anything she said didn't make sense? And some of these things you're doing already.
The thing that is very important is when she says you can't do everything all the time.
Right.
Because I find when I do, when I really put my mind to it and want to make a differentiate, I can't think of the words, yes, that I have all these ideas, and sometimes it takes so long to prepare and to set up that you can become very, very exhausted. So I have to, because I'm still working on it, because I like to work, and I sometimes don't know when to start.
A little at a time.
Yes, that if you can really burn yourself out, if you find yourself not doing it,
and you don't want to do that.
You know,
you do not want to do that. Yeah. Any other comments? Can I have some more comments? Ms. Tracy Russell.
I have a question, Ms. Thompson. Because I really appreciate the fact that you can come to the students, we are going to give them an assignment that meets their ability. For some students in our classroom are challenged in certain areas, right? Well, my question is, if I have Kellyanne, right, and she's at a level 5, and I give her work at a level 5, and she gets an 8, and I have Tina at a level 1, and I give her an assignment, and she gets a B. But I put on the report card that Kellyanne is an A and Tina is a B. How much am I supposed to put Kellyanne a 5 or something?
How do you respond to that? Can I get some feedback with that? And
I'm suggesting that, when we create our exams should be for the entire body. It should not be differentiated. So the exam, the first 60% should cater to your struggling learners. Right. And your 40% should accommodate the others. So when they take that examination, Tina, Kellyanne may only get 20%. Right. And that's going to balance out the those days that she was getting and that 20%. Okay, so the exam, that's why it's important to set those exams for everyone. One exam should be set, in most cases for each.
It's not that the national exams do.
Yes, that's what they do.
National exams take into consideration time break.
But I mean, even no, it doesn't. But it has to correspond to your level. Any other comments? Any other comments?
Okay, Mr. Dawkins, next slide, please. Okay, so you just recapping, content process products. Next slide, please. Okay, again, we saw that earlier. Next slide, please. Okay, differentiated lesson. How to plan a lesson. This is a brief, this is only 3 minutes. This is a brief
interview that's gonna further give you some ideas on what you can do in your classroom.
Differentiation doesn't have to be hard, but it also doesn't happen magically. We teachers need to have a fair number of differentiation strategies in our back pocket so that we can pull them out when the occasions arise.
So a common concern that I know a lot of teachers share is, Larry, what do you do when you have students you know are going to finish something faster? They're going to be done first.
Yes. A couple of ideas that I think about is, one, having some extension strategies, some extension ideas that those students can do, some more complex tasks. For example, if we're studying a particular topic and people are done early, having them be prepared to pull out their phones and research more information on that topic that they could share with class, share with me right about. And another thing that I ask students to do is, if they're done early, to think about the other side of the coin. What do you do for students who are often take a little longer time to complete assignments?
A lot of times I might modify the student output that I'm expecting. Instead of answering 3 questions, they can do 1. And researchers have found that if you can just help someone get started on something, they're much more likely to finish. And so sometimes just providing that first sentence in a writing response that they're doing can just help those students get started. Most likely they do end up finishing. What resources do you access to help ensure successful differentiation that also don't require a ton of time?
If you're serious about differentiation, you've got to think about the materials. Right? The challenge is to have materials that can be both challenging to your most proficient students and your least proficient students. There's lots of fairly easy materials that you can create that can be helpful to both groups. One are graphic organizers. Right? And graphic organizers are great for everybody. They don't have to be used by everybody, but they can be made available for everybody. I think the other thing to keep in mind is this concept of engineering the text. That you can make complex text more accessible without changing the words. Right? You create a lot more white space. You create headings. You add definitions to key vocabulary at the bottom of the sheet. That all that can be helpful to everybody, but it doesn't require necessarily simplifying the text. It's more amplifying it. Great work, Kate. Differentiation is...
Okay, so that's basically is the summary that we talk about next time. Okay, so you've heard a lot about differentiated teaching. You now have an activity to do on your white paper. Can you bring that over a little for me, please? This is a group activity. You're sitting in desks, in groups already. Those are the criteria. And I forget to add one more there. This is a diverse class. So this is a mixed group. So you have some things to consider. You're going to prepare a lesson on agree upon topic, concept, or whatever. Something you could pick something current or something in your subject area, and you're going to come together. You have 6 minutes, only 6 minutes, and then you're going to construct for 20 minutes. For a class of 20. And it's a 55-minute lesson. All persons in the group must contribute, and you're going to select a presenter or presenters. And you can decide how you want to do. You only have 2 minutes for presentation. Okay? So on your white paper, and you got 2 papers. Now you're going to use the white paper.
Coffee break. Coffee break.
Coffee break. Coffee break.
Storming activities. Students must be able
I mean, they just had
That's what you're supposed to do.
Okay. Just to make sure that it's
Really put accuracy on your face. Yeah. It's the first time class, so that's it. Start with 7580. That's it. Yeah, first time I've seen 7580.
Preparation for the lesson, this is the execution.
4 groups of 5 groups, it's going to be 20.
The marking and stop fighting, stop running. Exactly. Don't chew it down. Put your mind. Take out your books. Take out.
And with the straw, you know them, it always.
I just started bringing my 2 years and gel. So
And you know they always with the straw in the mouth.
And the toothpick.
Right.
For the activities, we're going to do the flyer. So they get put like a puzzle. She said
Okay, I need you to finish it up. You don't have to have everything written down. If you want to just explain it, what you don't have written down is fine with me. Okay, but we want to come together. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We may not be able to do all the groups, but I want to put these 5 groups. Okay, colleagues.
Colleagues, let's get started. I know you're so excited about this, and it is just awesome to see. As a teacher, we have 100% engagement. Fantastic. Okay. Colleagues, let's get started. It's okay.
Okay. So, now I got everyone's manager. Okay, so the topic is color theory.
What is the topic?
Color theory.
Okay.
Okay. The subtopic is graphic design. The prior knowledge. Students know the colors. They know what they're associated with. The objective is using images of fast food logos. Using images of fast food logos, students will be able to identify the associated colors in the logos at 100% accuracy. They'll also be able to explain why the manufacturers use these colors. And then lastly, they'll be able to create a logo of their own, utilizing the color spectrum in 20 minutes.
Okay. How you gonna get the content across to your students?
Okay. So, well, basically with the images, like for instance, like I was telling my colleagues here.
How you gonna use the labels? Listen up, people. How you gonna use your labels?
So basically by showing them different images, like for instance, we were saying Burger King and McDonald's and KFC. The relation of them. What is the relations of the three of them?
The red.
They use red.
Okay.
They use hot colors. Okay. Now, if you put Subway use what color?
Green and yellow.
And that's associated with healthy.
Right.
So once you show those images, it sort of get a.
One other question. I'm listening to my question, people, because when you come up here, even if you don't have it, I need you to tell me. Okay. How you gonna assess? How you gonna assess for understanding?
Okay, so basically, when they create their logo, because basically in art we do critiques. So one at a time, each of those students are going to put up their work, and we're going to assess that together as a class.
And you so question them on it?
Yes.
Okay, times, good.
Okay.
Awesome. Excellent. Let's start from this one.
Okay. All right, class. What do you think today's topic is about? Hurricanes. Thank you. So that is going to be our introduction. We will play a piece of music that introduces the topic of hurricanes and that caters to our auditory learners.
Okay.
Next, we are going to access prior knowledge. So the teacher will write the word hurricane on the board, put it in a circle, and we're going to do some webbing. So then we're going to ask the students, what comes to mind when you think of a hurricane?
Holiday.
Come on, write that S-A-K on the board. What else comes to mind? Carnival. What else? No school. Closure of school.
Lockdown.
Okay, so basically based on the responses, they will come up to the board and they will write their answers all around, right? Creating our web so that's catering to our body kinesthetic. Okay. All right, next, we're going to ask them basically, what is a hurricane? And based on their responses, the teacher can then write the definition on the board, right?
And sometimes even if they give you incorrect answer, you can ask students, get your students involved. Do you agree with him? And he may say yes, no, but why don't you agree with him? Force it, pull it out of them. It's in there, pull it out. You have the ability to pull them out. You do it. Okay, go on.
Yes.
Sorry.
Then after that, the body of the lesson, we're gonna do group work. And so one group is gonna be responsible for coming up with the previous names of hurricanes that have impacted the Bahamas. And then of course, they can draw a diagram of the anatomy of a hurricane if they know. Another group is gonna be responsible for talking about hurricane preparation, but we want that done in a little skit, like a little drama. How do you prepare? And then the other group is going to be responsible for talking about the effects, but we want that catering to the linguistic style, either as a poem or in a story based on maybe past experience that they themselves have had with maybe Hurricane Andrew in the past or Matthew or whatever. Okay?
Now I have one question for you. How are you going to correct any misconception that they may write or that they may in this activity?
Okay, well, as they present, the teacher can then correct, as well as this is basically full spectrum of it, but we're going to then do mini lessons afterwards.
Okay, that's like an introductory lesson. Gotcha.
Yes.
Right on target.
Okay.
Thank you. Excellent. Okay, now we have this group. Yeah.
Okay, so I decided to move to family life. Today's topic is going to be about personal hygiene. The ability in our class is mixed. Our previous knowledge, students should have at least a basic knowledge about personal hygiene from junior high. It is taught in the science class, as well as in family life, art, family, and consumer science. So following a skit and a class discussion on hygiene, the students with 90% accuracy will be able to define the term hygiene in one sentence, list 3 hygiene practices, create a flyer about hygiene, and demonstrate the application of one hygiene practice. And to introduce the lesson, the teacher is going to put the students in groups of not more than 4 and assign one specific hygiene to each group, and then their group will have to reenact either an experience or however best that they would like to do.
Okay, I have 2 questions for you. One, how are you going to test for that 90% accuracy? Oh, wait a
Okay. And so some of the activities we're going to have them do is they're going to create a poster. They're going to be involved in skits and demonstration, and then each group will become a leader in their specific practice. So it's like the jigsaw method. So each of the groups will travel from the station to station to learn about the other practice.
That's good.
The other hygiene product. And then at the end, the culminating activity is we're going to have a class activity in groups of 2, split the class in half, and then we're going to give them a pair of dice, and when they roll it, we're going to give them a question, and if they answer it, they'll get the points of the number on the dice.
Okay.
And whoever can get the most points is the one.
That's good. Thanks. I have one more question. How are you going to test for the individual concept? How do you know that that's important? A particular student, if you have them working in 2, you said. How do you know that I got it and not Joe?
We can give them a quiz. Next class.
Okay, let's hear from this group. Guys, let's put them up. I'm asking these questions like you think when you make me a lesson.
Okay, so this is a 20-minute lesson. It's a grade 10 class, mixed level. We decided to go with business, so we'll be doing an accounting lesson. The topic will be intro to double entry. Before we get the introduction, the prior knowledge, we expect, because they're in grade 10 now, they're learning new terminologies, but they would have been somewhere doing some sort of business with their parents at some point. So we feel as though they should know some of the things that a business owner would own or owe. Because some of them they have business on their own now. They're selling salty and cup and doing. Look at our kids, they're selling everything on the bag, so they know what they have to go and buy. They know what they need, so it's expensive. Also, they should have heard the terms before, so that's our prior knowledge that we expect for them to know. For introduction, we're going to have a 2-minute skit. That skit is going to be sort of an interview for a person who is going to open a business. So they're going to get all of the criteria that they need, and persons are going to be using terminologies that's going to broaden their horizon as it relates to this topic. We have 3 very light objectives. The first one is they're going to first need to define what is double entry and the accuracy using a required textbook. So that's really catering to those persons who like to read. Okay, so we're going to ask them to read aloud. We're going to use 75% accuracy to measure that, because this is grade 10, this is new terms that they're learning. So we're not going to put the accuracy high to give us some sort of unrealistic, yes. Second, they're going to demonstrate how to increase and decrease assets, liabilities, and capital using the double entry system. So we're always referring back to what the topic is. Now, demonstrate sounds like a very high objective in this case, but it's not really that difficult. And the third one, we're going to discuss, so we're bringing in now real life scenarios, which is another activity. We're going to discuss why is it important to have more assets and liabilities, assets than liabilities for your business. So that's our 3 objectives. Throughout these objectives, our development will have activities such as reading, writing, songs, demonstration, and modeling. For example, the second objective, that will be taught using the song, and we'll do the dance. So they also learn that some children, believe you me, in the 10th grade don't know left from right. So they're also learning left from right. So the song goes, debit to the left, credit to the right, debit left, credit right, debit left, credit right. And then we do the front hand, and then you have to stand balanced, meaning your 2 hands should be straight. Balance all of your transactions, meaning when you enter your debit entry and you enter your credit entry, your 2 hands means they should all be on the same level, because debit should be equal to credit. Another teaching, our teaching strategies are, as you would have heard, songs, that's for our audio learners. We're going to use the projector to display the content, that's for our visual. The demonstration of everything, that's going to be for our kinesthetic, and again, musical would also be in there. Our assessments will be, even though the teacher's performing the song first, the students will have to perform and dance the song after we would have done it. So that's our first assessment. And they're going to create their own lyrics. Yes. Okay, I think I covered everything.
Okay, time. Be cautious here, people. Be mindful if it's a 55-minute class or a double class, and you don't want so many objectives that you don't want to overload the student. You want to try to get, if it's a double lesson, even though sometimes it may be carried over, but if it's a double lesson, try to complete that lesson so you can evaluate. Because when there's so much to evaluate, it may get lost somewhere in translation. So be cognizant of all of that. And remember too, we're not asking you to do this every class. We just want you to, and you don't have to do all the activities in one class. Be mindful of that, because I don't want to burn you. You're a good teacher, so I don't want you, what they ask, no. Yeah, I want you really to enjoy your profession, enjoy your practice. I'm going to ask 2 more groups to present. I'm going to ask administration. Let me hear what they say.
Are you saying that these objectives were 2?
No, I'm not saying that. No, I wasn't saying that. I was just saying. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Administration? Okay, one more group. Administration is going to come. I want one more group because we're almost at the time. Anybody wants to volunteer before I volunteer them? Okay, good. Time. Love it.
Come in.
Good day, Mr. Gibson.
Good day, Ms. Riney.
The job finished, I need my money now.
We don't have any cash today, but I can give you a
What you
check.
mean you ain't got no cash? That's my
Check
money and I need it now.
$210 minimum wage. Right there.
Cash, check. What I can do with that?
Banks on close. Hurry up.
So the bank's on close, Mr. Gibson, what I can do with that? What's that? I need my money now. The children need to eat.
Sharing game. Yes, cash your bank. 30 minutes,
Mr.
cash your
Gibson.
bank.
Really, Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Mr. Gibson, what I can do with this check?
You want me to take it back? Alright, so that was an introduction to our lesson. First of all, the lesson is banking, subtopic checks. The subject is commerce. It's a grade 10 lesson. Objective is after demonstrating how to fill out a check, students will be able to 1, discuss how checks are used and why. 2, define terms relating to filling out a check. 3, demonstrate how to fill in a blank check with 75% accuracy. The teacher's strategy will be demonstration, direct instructions, labeling, observation, assessment, filling out a blank check, that'll be an assignment, and labeling a check.
Thanks. And also, let me just say something here about introduction. Your introduction needs to be about 5 minutes tops, and it has to be stimulating, and you can draw from the environment. It has to be stimulating, because what an introduction does to a lesson is stimulate the students and draw them into the lesson. That is what's supposed to happen. So try to find creative ways. And I asked your students, they know a lot of things you could, to get them actually into the lesson. Administration, you ready? Oh. Okay, I leave you all alone there. Okay, but you did fine. Give yourself a round of applause. Oh my word. Oh, you got this. Oh my. One more. Okay, let's hear from that bad group, Miss Jolly's group. Come, Miss Jolly. One more. And once we did Miss Jolly, come, Miss Jolly group. Let's go. You want to walk? Okay.
Our topic is polygons. Prior knowledge, students should be able to identify basic shapes like square, circle, triangle, rectangles. Our objective is at the end of the lesson. Our objective is after demonstrating how to construct a house, the students will be able to identify at least 4 polygons.
Okay.
The content, we have the different types of triangles, we go over those. Polygons, material, sheet of paper, introduction. We'll discuss with students. We'll ask students what shapes they see on a house. If they look at a house, what are some shapes they can identify? The development, you didn't get to complete. So the development, the teacher will demonstrate how to construct a house, the students will observe, and then you would give them the paper, give instructions, and then walk around, let the students perform the construction of the house, observe, give feedback. We use your house. So basically, this house has about, how much shapes? 5?
Yeah.
6 different shapes they should be able to identify.
Isn't this amazing, people? You see, that's just a little piece of paper that they fold.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times, think about, you don't necessarily have to go and find a lot of things. For me, I read a lot. Even though I'm not in the classroom, I am always reading about what's new in education. In fact, all of us should be lifelong learners. And we're in education, we always should be on the cutting edge to find out what's going on. And so there's always, I think I shared this with the persons
You're in good company.
I supervise. There's a website called teachingchannel.org. Anybody ever use that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome. It is awesome. In fact, the U.S. Teacher of the Year for 2010, she's one of the laureates for that channel. And there's, English and math, there's so much materials on that for English and math. So, if you're browsing around in there, just pop over there. And let me say this now. There are 2 persons, if you have some time, you're on the internet, you want to look. There's a lady called Dr. Carol Dweck. She's at Stanford University. She did something on, she almost pioneered fixed mindset and growth mindset. Some of you may have heard the phrase before.
And we want to always get our student, and everybody's doing it now if you start to do your reading, get your student into that growth mindset mode. So you get them into work, because we're looking for persons who can think, reason. So get your student, read up a little on the growth mindset. DWRECK. D-W-R-E-C-K. Carol is her name. And there's one other person I want to share with you that you could perhaps look up. His name is Dr. John Hattie, H-A-T-I-T-E. He has been doing research. He said he get over 4 billion students in his database, and he have done everything. There's nothing he said he don't have that they haven't done research on. And you know what he said? The number one thing that influence or impacts students' achievement is the teacher. Number one. The home, yeah, there's some impact. Classroom size, yeah, there's some impact. But teacher practice. Teacher practice has the greatest influence on student outcome. Okay, so next slide, kind of wrapping up. Okay, so how do we benefit from this? Ms. Roberts, can you read for me, please? What are the benefits?
It allows students to take greater responsibility and ownership for their own learning. It provides opportunities to peer teaching and cooperative learning. It fosters student independence.
Great benefits, and that's where we want our students to be, eh? That's exactly if we want to build a country with thinkers, reasoners, person who can really analyze things. That's where we want to get our students. Next slide, please. So these are some important things that we want to remember. Ms. Johnson?
We still must teach the basic. If someone doesn't like to write, doesn't mean he never has to write. Must find a balance. We must, as teachers, be willing to try and fail.
Yeah, you're going to fail sometime. It's a given. We're human, that's going to happen. So when it happens, don't tilt your head. Say, I try. I don't know what else I could do with this child or whatever. Next slide, please. Okay, here is a question. A world without teachers. What's your opinion? A world without teachers. Oh my word. Okay, let's hear what some people have to say. Next slide, Mr. Dawkins.
Whoa. No, my fault. My problem. Yeah, that's it?
Yes, that's it. This is interesting. You have to listen to this, people.
Without teachers. What would the world be like without teachers?
Chaos.
Oh, man.
The younger generation wouldn't have anyone to look up to learn from, walk around ignorant. I mean, we could keep the teachers, but just no homework.
Everybody would be going cuckoo, everyone would do anything.
I think that is the scariest thought that anyone could ever have.
I think it would be craziness, just because I feel like teachers are, besides our parents, the first people we need to like shape who we become.
I haven't always been like the best student throughout my whole life. I was always in trouble. I had suffered 3 Fs, and I realized like, oh, well, I need to fix that, you know?
4th grade was over. I'm here 5th grade. We graduated 6th grade. Hey, Ms. Gonzalez, how you doing? And then she's like, oh yeah, I heard these are your grades. What's going on in our science class? Like, she was like totally just keeping up, and I just felt like, whoa, like something's different about that.
Gave me the time of day. Mostly, it was very engaged in stuff that I was doing. Even though I was in detention, I was still learning. And she was the one teacher who really saw a lot in me to make me feel like I wasn't the kid that other teachers were saying.
And there was a point where I said, okay, I'm gonna fail my French class because I haven't been there, so I haven't done any homework. I'm just gonna drop out before I fail. And then she specifically came to me and said, no, I'm gonna work out a deal with you so that if you stay, you won't fail.
We didn't do good at school,
she would chew you out, but she would always give you a chance to make it up. You know what I mean? She would never put you low standard and just leave you there. You know, that's one thing I like about teachers. They won't leave you behind.
You know, and when I got accepted into colleges, the first thing I thought is like, I better go. And I better go and tell her, I'm gonna be like, guess what? I got into Penn State, I got into UC, I got into all these colleges.
Actually inspired me to pursue political science.
She's basically the one that taught me to just keep trying.
I can accomplish more than I probably deserve. I felt it, like, she didn't have to do that. But
Hey boy. Nothing about us. She. All about she.
She.
And I'd like to thank her so much for that. Thanks, Miss Picture. You know, let's do this. And I hope you know that you mean a lot to me. You know, really, really important. And yeah.
Miss America.
Wow. Oh boy.
her name was Casey Crocker. She just exhibited like such a raw passion for teaching. It made me want to teach. Like, I want to do that for people. Like, that's a beautiful thing.
Mr. Henderson and Ms. Williams. Okay, so we're coming to the end. Do what is right. Not what is easy. Good, that's like this. So this is the takeaway. I expect you, I would love for you to have a create. You see the word I'm saying to you? Create. You create a productive school year. Okay? So, it's nice.
It's nice.